What is up, sexy people of the internet? It is Dave. It is Duncan. Back from Epidemic for another.
I don't know why. Instantly regretted that. Like, as soon as I started doing it, I was like, that was a bad idea.
Happens to the best of us. Back for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Southampton Gothic punks, Creeper. The band's new album.
Southampton's alright if you like partying. Southampton's alright. It's not even the right lyrics, I'm just mixing it up.
The band's new album, Sanguivore, will be released on October 13th via Spinefarm Records. So, Sanguivore is a dark story from Creeper, one that is influenced by throwback vampire flicks such as Near Dark, The Lost Boys, and Interview with the Vampire.
See, when they said throwback, I keep forgetting how young they are. Like, see, like throwback in the 3 movies they mentioned, 2 were the late 80s and 1 was the early 90s. Kind of makes me feel old as fuck, Dave.
Yeah, to be fair.
That's my fucking orthopedic back fucking pillow. Oh, yeah, bastard.
Its narrative focuses upon Mercy, a deceptively innocent yet savagely violent vampire, 19 years old in conventional terms, yet with a soul dating back some 1,000 years, and her relationship with Spook, an older man who falls under her control but doesn't quite lose sight of their previous humanity. Every Creeper campaign also ends in a departure ahead of a rebirth. Their debut, Eternity in Your Arms, ended with an apparent Bowie-style on-stage breakup, while their number 5 album, Sex and Death, closed with Will being decapitated on stage during a headline show at London's Roundhouse last November.
Seemingly being decapitated. Yeah. Like they didn't fucking commit murder on stage, right?
He's back. It's a record which again sees Creeper broadening their sonic reference points, effectively merging a lifetime's worth of influences from founding members Will Gould and Ian Miles. Beyond the escapist fantasy and lashings of dark humour, Sanguivore is also rooted in real-life experience. Romance, albeit via a gothic prism, is again a reoccurring motif, while friendship is also a central concept. Will and Ian have been in bands together for well over a decade, but as it has well been documented, Ian suffered from severe mental health as work got underway on Sex and Death, which naturally limited his creative input. This new album proved to be a moment where the duo were reunited from the start of the project, resulting in their darkest, wildest, and at times heaviest set to date. The album was recorded with the help of producer Tom Dalgetty, who has worked with Ghost, Royal Blood, and The Cult, to name a few. It was recorded partially at his studio, which is a converted church. So, Creeper, I loved Sex, Death, and Infinite Void. Loved that album.
It's a good album, Dave.
It is a good album. It is an album full of hooky bangers.
Yes, hooky bangers.
Hooky bangers, but
which is Dave's Tinder profile name. I don't know why.
But with this,
just you with a leather jacket open with a load of hooks in it.
What is this Tinder you speak of, Duncan?
It's what I used to light fires, isn't it?
Yeah, that album came with a little bit of a more like moody, kind of Americana type feel than the debut Eternity in Your Arms, which is probably their most like punk album they've done to date. But like, as you'll have heard, Creeper aren't a band you can really predict what's coming next, and I kind of love that. Their 2021 EP, American Noir, was released with a kind of selection of songs that didn't quite make the Infinite Void album, and you could hear why. Those songs, those tracks had a different feel, maybe a bit more touch theatrical, slightly more kind of heartfelt with strings and a lot of piano, and obviously in the voice of Hannah Greenwood being paired up with Wills as well. I liked the EP. I could hear the band had like improved musically and vocally, but I maybe wasn't as in love with it as I was the previous album. What about yourself? I know you're a Creeper fan. I think you've seen them live as well, haven't you?
They opened for Baby Metal.
Oh, right. Was that what it was? Right. Okay.
So I saw them in the Barras.
Right. Nice.
And they sounded fucking great. Huge. It was my first live experience of them.
Yeah.
And I'd heard their debut album, And I'm trying to think, this might have been just before the second album or maybe just after. And what I was kind of taken back by was not only their live performance, which was fucking impeccable, but it was they're very locked into the audio visual thing. So, which will always win brownie points for me. I like bands that treat the stage like a bit of theatre, especially if you're going to go down that element of evoking. It's why, like, as much as I don't necessarily like a ton of Rob Zombie stuff, if I get a chance to go and see him, I'll go and see him live, because the live show is like better than the music, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, you get your money's worth, and Creeper delivered that. Like, there was a lot of stuff that was synced up to visual cues, videos playing through it. It was all kind of reminded me of kind of old school horror, which, as a fucking die-hard horror fan, that once again will also win you ticks. It's also, they have a big old streak of goth through them. And I'm still goth at heart, even though I don't get away with that at work nowadays. But I still have that element of, I will like unabashedly fucking sit and sing along to fucking like shit goth for no reason other than it makes me smile inside but not outside, because you can't smile outside while listening to goth music. So they were excellent. The very much like yourself, Creeper are a band who have, and I can't stress this enough, worked their ass off. Like, these guys tour like an insane amount, will literally not turn down a tour, and have been. Some people might think that, they've got huge all of a sudden. No. This has been through hard work and graft.
Yeah.
That being said, there has been an incredible rise in attention, profile, and just in general songwriting from the band. Like, I think once they locked in that they could add a lot more of the things we're doing visually into the style of the music, that's when they became infinitely more interesting and differentiates them from a lot of other bands that have the kind of spooky punk sound. And also they seem to really, like you mentioned, like Bowie and stuff like that, it's all in their music, and that's all stuff I really fucking like. So, like, it was never going to be a stretch for me to be interested in a band like Creeper. And I was expecting big things from this from the moment we heard the first single, and I was like, yep. Like, instantly, like, yep, this sounds bigger. So, I'm happy. So.
Okay, so in terms of the album, Sanguivore, how did you get on with the full release? What did you think of the album?
So this actually performed better than I was expecting.
Okay.
So, we'd heard... I heard the first single they released. I didn't hear any singles after that. I think they released another one or two. And I was like, nope, they have me in now, and I don't want to... I know sometimes you continue with the listening. Sometimes I've kind of, depending on who the band is, I either check out, wait for the album, or I'm like, no, we're gonna keep doing this. I get quite far into it. Blood Command being one of those examples where it was so perplexing the way they released their songs. I was kind of like, I have to listen to the next one to hear when it gets heavy. I got the theatrics straight away, the kind of 80s tones and references, and the moody goth right from that single. So I was really, really interested. And boy, does this band not let you down, like even a little bit. Opening song, Further Than Forever. An opus in its own right. At 9 minutes, like, see where like, once again, this is a stream. I understand why it's a stream. I fucking hate streams. I can't stress that enough. I hate it because I can't just like on the go listen to it. I need to be on my fucking computer or playing it on my phone, which sometimes doesn't seamlessly connect to the next song, and you have to go to the fucking app, and just like infuriates me. But I like when that clocked up there, I was like, what? Totally makes sense when you listen to it. Totally doesn't feel 9 minutes either. And I will do anything for love.
I was wondering how long it would take before that came up.
Oh, it's Meatloaf as fuck. And you know what? Much. I am down to clown on some Meatloaf. You know what I mean? I mean, it evokes it. It's not that song.
It evokes it? It evokes it? That chorus? Come on.
It evokes it. Better vocalist here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's what makes it a bit like a better range, more options. Sims much more polished. Musically, a bit more interesting. Like there's a part of me that thinks that Meatloaf just made really long songs because he just liked toilet breaks. I'm gonna go for, you just play this interlude and I'll just go for a slash. I mean, it does. It has grandeur and it has hugeness, and it sounds theatrical and it has a lot of pomp and circumstance about it. It also reminds me at times a little bit of Ghost, which has slowly adapted their sound to be a bit more Meatloaf. And yeah, I think it sets the stage. Actually, when you listen to the rest of the album, the fact that the opener is this 9-minute fucking rock opera kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It really does set the stage, and like I say, when it got to the end, it didn't feel like there's 3 distinct movements in the track, and the first and the second, the first and the third, are basically the same, but the middle section, which opens up to its own song in its entirety, actually works really, really, really well in breaking the track up.
Yeah.
So when it finished, like that first track, I was kind of struck by, 1, how huge they fucking sounded. This sounds fucking massive. 2, the techniques, the styles, and the songwriting. 3, yes, it reminded me of Meatloaf, which I wasn't expecting. But 4, how like fucking pumped I was when it finished, because I knew what one other song sounded like. So I'm like, I have this.
Yeah.
I have something that doesn't really sound like that. Let's see where we go. And the album continues to wear its influence. They're a band you can very clearly chart influences on songs.
Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to being an overall sound.
Yeah.
But somehow they manage to take bands that don't sit in the same genre. Like, Meatloaf and the Ramones are not the same genre, right?
Yeah.
Or the Misfits. They're not even remotely in the same genre, but somehow on a Creeper album, they sound like they're in the same genre.
Yeah.
I kind of love that about them. Like, you jump into a track like Cry to Heaven, which has a kind of almost fucking 80s Bon Jovi goth vibe going on, and I fucking love it. Or Sacred Blasphemy, which has a little bit of Queen going through it, and like once again, like elements that shouldn't work through the ballad of Spook and Mercy, which is that straight up kind of Americana. Well, if we've got a horse and wagon, we're on the road and we're being attacked by vampires. It did make me think of Near Dark. Near Dark is a movie which is basically a western, but a vampire western. So it kind of reminded me of that. Lovers Led Astray. Fucking great track, really powerful. And what I love about it, like vocally, they're such an interesting band.
Yeah.
Like you get these huge vocal, and it's a vocal hook album. Like you hear the chorus the first time, you're singing it the second time, right? Love that about them. But even through Lovers Led Astray, which has a kind of like a big kind of beefed up ballad thing going on. Teenage Sacrifice is punky as fuck. Chapel Gates has this kind of almost... It reminded me of like AFI or some shit like that. It was really, really, really cool. The Abyss is an interlude track, which is basically the chorus of Chapel Gates, but done as a kind of... almost like a kind of organ orchestral sort of thing going on. And then it closes it with a really powerful 1-2 punch. Black Heaven is a fucking great track. Reminds me a little bit of Bowie in the best possible way. And it has like all these things have really, really, really good instrumentation, great layering and grandeur. And then More Than Death closes the album in fine fashion. It's a great closer for a concept album. This has a story to tell, and even if you didn't know the story as mentioned in the press statement, or you're like me and don't read press statements, like I felt like I was being told a story.
Yeah.
And I felt each song was a movement or an act in that story, and they all weaved it together seamlessly. And yeah, there's influences here. I mean, the Ghost element's there for sure. It's hard to get away from that. And there's elements of the old, and there's still those elements of that punky stuff, maybe not on the snarly side, but there's that punky attitude that Creeper do so well
Yeah.
in their music. It's just a really, really accomplished album. Just very thoughtful, very well put together. Musically, the songs are actually perfectly placed. There wasn't one jump from one particular homage to another that sounded obtrusive or obstructive. There, you know, there's a clear line right through, and I kind of love that about it as much as the music. I like an album that feels like it's been thought out.
Yeah.
I like songs that feel like there's been a discussion with a band in a room going like that. Right, we have 2 songs that can go after track 7. What one are we doing? And the band actually sit there and say, well, thematically that fits there, or it finishes in this chord here, which this one's... Like, when there's conversations about how tracks or stories or themes fit together, that means the band are invested in the album structure, which means I'm invested in the album structure. This sounds fucking massive. And this was I think the first time where, like, when I saw them at the Barras, they opened for Baby Metal. I know Dave doesn't like Baby Metal, but Baby Metal live he toured the fucking force. Like, it is so fucking well done, and it's immaculate. It's just like an immaculate slab of huge metal. Like, they could play to a crowd of 10,000 and it would sound the same as they played to a crowd of 2,000. They just do things at scale. And I felt at the time, I was like, well, Creeper played really, really well, but Baby Metal are the bigger band. See, with the right stage show and this album, I think they could easily be playing to 10,000 people and it would sound fucking amazing. They could be playing to ghost crowds of this, and I think it would fucking work. I think this might be the best thing the band's done. I think it's by far the most accomplished thing.
Yeah.
And musically, this has it's daring. It's challenging in terms of the realms of the influences they pulled from. Not any one track side by side sounds like another track, but it's clearly Creeper all the way right through it. I think they are pretty big already. I think they're about to become fucking huge, and I'm quite excited about it. And I know we're supposed to be maybe going out to see them live, and I can't wait to see them again. Like, this material is killer, and it's going to work really, really, really well with a live crowd and with the right theatrics and all the rest. I thought this was, to me, I think this is the best thing they've done. It's the most accomplished. It just sounds mature as fuck, and it's also full of fucking dark humour. This is tongue in cheek, the same way that people get into Ghost. The amount of times I read off that last Ghost album, which wasn't their best, although everyone thinks is their best, where people like that, I didn't realise they had a sense of humour, and I'm like, it's from the beginning. He dresses like a zombie pope. It's from the beginning. The humour's always been there. You're all just getting it now. No, I thought they took themselves seriously, like Slipknot. Slipknot don't take themselves seriously. Come on, they sniffed dead crows in jars before they got on stage. Who's serious there? Yes. I'm curious about you, because I'm a known quantity. I'm a Creeper fan. I didn't even know that you liked anything by the band. So goes to show how little we know about each other for being best friends and best men at each other's weddings. I can feel like you've been holding it a bit.
I'm a punk guy. I love punk music. It's like,
you do love punk music
for a long time.
You do. So
coming off of the EP they did, American Noir, I
was
wasn't
that to
sure.
Get off that label?
I don't know.
Were they
actually
not on Roadrunner?
I think this is on a new label.
This is on Spinefarm.
Yeah, this is on a new label. I'm pretty sure.
I think right. So I wonder if that EP was released to get them. I don't. Let's speculating here. I wonder if that EP was released to get them out of that label.
Maybe, could be.
You know,
it was stuff
one
they
thing
had.
to do. Let's just release the stuff that didn't make the album.
Yeah, it was written at the same time as the previous album, but I as I said, I quite liked it. I didn't love it, but I was like unsure what was going to happen next. Were they going to continue in that vein or do something different? Then they dropped "Cry to Heaven," the first single from the new album, and I was in hard. I was hard in. I was like, this is easy. Those 80s vibes just hooked me in like a son of a bitch straight away. But once again, Creeper have given us another release that kind of pivots and explores previous styles a little further while giving us some new ideas that make this album a completely different beast from the last. Okay, yeah, you mentioned the opening track, Further Than Forever. I need to just go back to that because 9 minutes and 100% their most ambitious track to date. Like it is epic. That like theatrical streak is in full flow with this. Like, and
Yeah.
it's not even like a song. It's like a full like Broadway show.
It's a rock opera. That's
Yeah.
Meatloaf. That's what Meatloaf did. Meatloaf did rock opera. It wasn't. It was the full fucking. It was James Brown, but fatter, whiter, and sweatier. You know what I mean? It's like a full fucking stage show.
James Brown is pretty sweaty. It's got flair. It's got big theatrics in the music. You could, like, when I was listening, I was picturing it on stage, like with the ebbs and the flows and the epic lead work. And as you said, musically, there's definitely a bit of Meatloaf in there, but it's also like mixed with this kind of weird like Menzingers type thing at the same time.
Yeah.
When I got to the chorus, I was like, is this Bat Out of Hell or what is actually happening here? Because I was hearing that in my head when it was playing. And I honestly, like, when I got to the end of that track, I was like, I don't know what is going to happen next in this album. I have no idea. If that was the opening gambit, then I don't know what to expect.
But you did, because you'd already heard it. So.
Yes, I did, yes. Because Cry to Heaven then kicks in, and I was like, oh, I'm in 80s heaven. This is like, could be from an 80s movie, probably called The Lost.
Cry to Heaven.
Probably called The Lost Boys. And I absolutely love that track. Like, one of my favourites on the album for sure. Huge sing-along chorus, full of like big like Sisters of Mercy goth vibes. But it still has, a bit of theatrics about it, that it doesn't sound like a massive jump from the opening track.
Yep.
There is like although it sounds different, there's a connective kind of thread there, which is really important, I think, to have, so that the album doesn't sound just like a bunch of different styles, one after another. The album really flows well together. Mm-hmm. Like, even though Sanguivore is their most varied album to date, stylistically, it still feels very interconnected. It's very well pieced together, that it works on various levels. Sacred Blasphemy probably had some of that piano work that reminded me a little bit of American Noir, the EP, but a little bit punkier, and still again keeping those 80s tones throughout. And this album is saturated in 80s influences, from the Danzig vibes on Lovers, Led Astray, to like a bit of Billy Idol on Teenage Sacrifice.
Mother.
Yeah, totally.
It's Lover.
Yeah.
Lover.
I was also getting a bit of Bonnie Tyler in the chorus of Teenage Sacrifice as well.
Yes.
But they've still made sure that they capture a bit of that kind of punk rock essence that made them like Creeper in the first place. Chapel Gates has got that kind of like, it's just got a real kind of punk rock banger kind of feel about it. Again, there's a bit of Menzingers,
Kicksy sort of thing going on.
Yeah, very much a bit of Ramones in there. It's got that kind of like fist pumping kind of rhythm, the driving bass, loads of whoa woes from Will on vocals as well. So it's very much in the punk rock vein. Sacred Blasphemy also has that kind of same adrenaline fueled kind of pace and bite to the guitars. I need to talk about track 9 though, Black Heaven.
You need to talk about it, Dave. I can see it written on your face.
And not for the reason you think, but the synth on that track, like, holy shit, I could have listened to that synth on loop. It was so good.
It's like, fantastic.
Very much. It's got this
new romantic. It's very new romantic.
Yeah. It's got like a dark, almost like a dark kind of synthwave type kind of pulse to it, with this real like 80s gothic punk vibe kind of running through
maybe
it.
A little bit kind of a slight Joy Division thing going on.
Yeah, for sure. Really enjoyed that one. And then More Than Death is the kind of epic closing ballad of the album.
Yep. Rock ballad.
Yeah, great lyrical content. You feel like you're kind of hanging off every word of his during that track. But
his range as well, the high note he hits on that was "I will love you." Fucking hell.
Really good. Kind of in a similar way to the opening of the album, it feels like it was made for the stage as well, that last track. It's got a little bit more of a theatre kind of production to it. But not in like a kind of campy way. It's got a more of a kind of emotional kind of pull to it.
It reminds me, and I'm going to lose street cred here
Right.
a little bit. I was a big fan, like huge fan of the first two Killers albums. Loved them. Their second album was it was kind of like it was a concept album. Sam's Town, I think was what it was called. And it opened and closed with a track that was very different to everything in between. But it felt like if you're going to see a stage show, someone coming out and introducing you in.
Yeah.
And then the closing track was very much like a bringing it all in and concluding. And More Than Death feels very much like that. It's the dying embers of an album which has given you its all and brought everything to a close.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Not much I didn't like on this one, to be honest. I think the ballad of Spook and Mercy, it's the only one I've got questions about. So it's I think it's fine for a kind of like quieter, more restrained, kind of Nick Cave type ballad. I kind of felt like it was a little bit early in the album at track 4.
I don't disagree. I like the placement, but I don't disagree with that. I think those sorts of moments, it's weird that the album never really slows down until the closing track after track 4, which is kind of weird. Conventionally speaking, we would usually get things the other way around, and you would get something later in the album that was slowly paced down, pick itself back up to the end. I don't know if that's a conceptual thing.
Probably is.
To do with the story overall, and that's why it's done in the way it is. But I don't think you're necessarily... It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you, but I understand exactly where you're coming from. The placement does feel like, we've just got our shit going. Granted, at that point, you're almost 20 minutes into the album when you think about it, because track 1 is about 10 minutes long. But I see what you're saying.
It was just a kind of momentum thing. It just kind of killed it a little bit. But then I was thinking, where else would you put it? Because you've already got that kind of interlude track as the Abyss is track 8, and it works perfectly into Black Heaven, so I wouldn't change that. But it's the one moment of the album that just kind of slows down too much and a little bit too early in the album. Just that was the only thing that was a little bit odd for me. Last thing I want to add is just a little bit around the vocals of Will Gould, or I noticed on the press release he's going as William Von Gould as on this album.
I would, just keep that.
Yeah, go for it.
Add the Von to everything now.
He sounds awesome on this. Probably his most
best album.
Yeah, his most exhaustive kind of vocal recording to date. He goes from like dramatic ballads to punk rock ragers to 80s goth crooning as well. Like, and it's like nothing as well. It just kind of switches so easily.
The deep spoken word stuff as well, which is kind of Nick Cavey a little bit, but also like vamp as fuck. You know what I mean? 2 steps away from being Pete Steele's fucking long lost fucking son.
He sounds really like confident on this album, like more confident than he's ever sounded, both in his delivery and with the kind of lyrical content on the album. So many kind of standout lyrics on the album that it's hard to imagine crowds of fans not singing this back to them at live shows. It's just built for that. I was thoroughly impressed with this. It's as good, if not better, than Infinite Void for me. I think this is more rewarding on repeat listens, actually. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot to love on this. And if they want to write and score a Broadway show, I'd watch the shit out of that.
They could fucking do it.
Yeah. 100%.
Them and they did from Panic at the Disco. If those guys ever want to just like transition to that, turns out to be really fucking good at it.
Last thing, scores for Sanguivore from Creeper. What are you thinking?
4.5. I think this is like this to me is the best thing the band's ever done.
Yeah.
I still think we've not heard the best thing the band's ever done. I think these guys are just great, and I'm very much looking forward to catching them live. I'm very much looking forward to seeing you catch them live.
Yeah.
Because it's when that element which you kind of know you want from listening to them is actually put in the live set, and then it all fucking syncs up.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is absolutely fucking great. Sounds huge. It's going to sell loads. It's going to get them loads more fans. And guess what? They've fucking earned it. So yeah, 4.5.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I was landing on a 4.5 as well for this one. Really impressed. I think, yeah, it is their most rewarding album for me. I think I think I'll go back to this quite a lot throughout the year. There's so much to really like. So many styles, and it's very varied, but very well done and very well connected as an album as well. I wasn't sure, like from when I heard the first track, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. But
Well, you not like Meatloaf, no?
I mean, a couple of tracks maybe, but
Let's be honest. There's no one that says they like Meatloaf that likes every track. It's always the same couple of tracks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Creeper, Sanguivore, it's out on October 13th on Spinefarm Records. Links below to the band and the pre-order. Check it out. Let us know your thoughts and your opinions on the releases of the singles I've put out so far. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.